The morning briefing room at Naval Special Warfare Command buzzed with the usual pre-mission energy. Maps covered every available wall space, satellite imagery scattered across metal tables, and the familiar smell of strong coffee mixed with the salt air drifting in from the Pacific. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen sat in the back corner, her dark eyes scanning intelligence reports, while her teammates argued over equipment loadouts. Nobody called her the Falcon to her face anymore. That nickname had started 3 years ago during her first deployment to Afghanistan, whispered between junior enlisted men who thought they were being clever. Now, after watching her work, even the most skeptical veteran operators used it with something approaching respect. Chen, front and center. Master Chief Rick Morrison's voice cut through the chatter like a blade. The room fell silent as all eyes turned toward the slight figure in desert camouflage. At 5 feet 4 inches and barely 130 pounds, Sarah looked more like a college student than a member of the Navy's most elite fighting force. She stood smoothly, her movements precise and economical. 3 years of proving herself had taught her that every gesture mattered in this world of alpha personalities and fragile egos. Too aggressive and they'd label her a show-off. Too passive and they'd question her place on the team. "Yes, Master Chief." Her voice carried the quiet confidence that came from surviving Hell Week, completing sniper school, and earning her trident through pure determination rather than political correctness. Morrison gestured toward the mission board, where a detailed map of Somalia's coastline dominated the display. Red circles marked known pirate strongholds, while blue dots indicated friendly naval positions. "Intelligence indicates our target is holding 12 hostages in this compound." He tapped a satellite image showing a fortified building complex near the port city of Bosaso. "Somali pirates grabbed them from a cargo ship 6 days ago." Sarah studied the imagery with the methodical attention that had made her the team's primary reconnaissance specialist. The compound sat on a rocky promontory overlooking the Indian Ocean, its 3-story main building surrounded by lower structures and defensive walls. Guard towers anchored each corner, their positions offering excellent fields of fire across the approaches. "What's our timeline?" asked Petty Officer Jake Rodriguez, the team's explosives expert. His heavily muscled frame made Sarah look even smaller by comparison, but she'd long ago stopped caring about such things. "Hostages include 2 American aid workers and 10 local staff members," Morrison continued. "Pirates are demanding $5 million in ransom and threatening to execute 1 hostage every 24 hours if their demands aren't met. They killed the ship's captain yesterday to prove they're serious." The room's atmosphere shifted subtly. These men had seen enough violence to remain professional under any circumstances, but the murder of innocents always struck a particular nerve. Sarah felt the familiar cold settling in her chest, the emotional detachment that made her so effective in the field. "Insertion will be via fast rope from helicopters at 0:30 tomorrow," Morrison announced. "Primary objective is hostage rescue. Secondary objective is elimination of pirate leadership to discourage future incidents." Sarah raised her hand slightly. "Rules of engagement, Master Chief?" "Weapons free once we're inside the compound. These aren't uniformed combatants under Geneva Convention protection. They're criminals who've already committed murder." Morrison's expression hardened. "But remember, we need at least 1 alive for intelligence purposes." The mission planning session continued for another 2 hours as the team examined every detail of the compound's layout, studied personnel movement patterns captured by drone surveillance, and rehearsed their assault plan. Sarah absorbed every piece of information while contributing tactical observations that consistently impressed her teammates. "Chen's got the Overwatch position," Morrison announced as they finalized assignments. "She'll provide sniper support from this ridgeline approximately 800 meters from the target." He indicated a rocky outcropping that offered clear lines of sight into the compound while remaining hidden from the pirates' view. Several team members nodded approvingly. Sarah's reputation with a rifle had grown considerably since that first deployment, when she'd eliminated 3 enemy fighters with 3 shots at distances exceeding 1,000 meters. The Falcon nickname originally mocked her slight build and quiet demeanor, but now it reflected something entirely different. "What's your preferred rifle for this mission?" asked Lieutenant Tom Bradley, their communications specialist. "SR-25 with Leopold scope," Sarah replied without hesitation. "Range is perfect for that weapon system, and I'll need the semi-automatic capability if things go sideways." After the briefing, Sarah made her way to the team's equipment room, where rows of weapons, ammunition, and tactical gear waited in military precision. She began methodically preparing her equipment, checking each piece with the obsessive attention to detail that separated elite operators from regular infantry. Her rifle received particular scrutiny. She examined the barrel for any signs of wear or damage, tested the scope's mounting system, and verified the laser rangefinder's calibration. Every component had to function perfectly when lives depended on her accuracy. "Mind if I ask you something?" Rodriguez appeared beside her, his own gear bag slung over one shoulder. Sarah continued cleaning her rifle's bolt assembly. "Shoot. How'd you know you wanted to do this? I mean, most women who join the Navy become nurses or work in administration. This isn't exactly a traditional career path." The question didn't surprise her. She'd heard variations of it countless times since arriving at Special Warfare Command. Most people expected some dramatic origin story involving a tragic loss or burning desire for revenge. The truth was much simpler. "I was good at it," she said, running a cleaning rod through the rifle barrel. "Started shooting competitively in high school, won some state championships, got offered a partial scholarship to college for marksmanship. Figured if I was going to serve my country, I might as well use my best skill." Rodriguez nodded slowly. "And the SEAL thing?" "Wanted to do something that mattered. Regular military felt too bureaucratic." Sarah reassembled her rifle with practiced efficiency. "Plus, nobody told me I couldn't." "You ever regret it? I mean, some of the guys can be assholes," Sarah finished with a slight smile. "Jake, I grew up with 3 older brothers who played football. Trust me, dealing with testosterone-fueled stupidity isn't exactly new territory." Rodriguez laughed, despite himself. "Fair enough. Just wanted to make sure you knew that most of us respect what you bring to the team." "Most of us?" "Well, Peterson still thinks women shouldn't be in combat roles. But Peterson also thinks the moon landing was fake and that Elvis is still alive, so his opinions don't carry much weight." Sarah finished her equipment check and stored everything in her deployment bag. Tomorrow's mission would be her 14th combat operation since joining the team, but the pre-mission anxiety never completely disappeared. The difference now was that her teammates worried about her safety rather than questioning her competence. That evening, she sat alone in her quarters reviewing intelligence reports one final time. The compound's layout had been burned into her memory, but she studied the imagery anyway, looking for details that might have been overlooked during the group briefing. Her phone buzzed with a text message from her younger sister back in California. "Saw the news about pirates in Somalia. Please tell me you're safely on a ship somewhere." Sarah smiled and typed back. "Currently enjoying air conditioning and terrible military coffee. Don't worry so much." The lie came easily. Lisa didn't need to know that her sister would be rappelling into a hostile compound in less than 12 hours, or that the mission's success might depend on Sarah's ability to place precision rifle shots in near-total darkness. Another message appeared. "Mom wants to know when you're coming home for leave." "Soon," Sarah replied, though she had no idea when her next break might come. The operational tempo had been relentless lately, with piracy incidents increasing throughout the region and terrorist groups taking advantage of the chaos. She set the phone aside and returned to her mission preparation. The satellite imagery showed guard positions that hadn't changed in 3 days of surveillance, suggesting the pirates felt secure in their stronghold. That confidence would work against them tomorrow night. Sarah pulled out a notebook and began sketching firing solutions for various scenarios. If the assault team encountered unexpected resistance, she might need to engage multiple targets quickly. If the pirates attempted to execute hostages, she'd have to eliminate threats without endangering innocent lives. If the team needed emergency extraction, her position on the ridgeline made her perfectly placed to provide covering fire. Each scenario required different ammunition selections, different firing positions, and different communication protocols. She'd learned long ago that successful snipers didn't just aim and shoot, they planned for every possible contingency. A knock on her door interrupted her planning. "Come in." Master Chief Morrison entered carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you might want some caffeine before tomorrow." "Thank you, Master Chief." Sarah accepted the cup gratefully. Morrison had been her strongest supporter since her arrival at the command, defending her against criticism and ensuring she received the same opportunities as her male counterparts. "You ready for this one?" he asked, settling into the room's only chair. "Always." Sarah sipped her coffee, appreciating its bitter warmth. "Intelligence looks solid, plans straightforward, team knows their assignments. Should be a standard rescue operation." Morrison studied her carefully. "You know there's no such thing as a standard mission when civilians are involved." "Yes, Master Chief. But panicking about variables we can't control won't help those hostages." Spoken like a true sniper. Morrison smiled slightly. "Chen, I want you to know that your performance over the past 3 years has been exceptional. The brass is taking notice." Sarah felt a familiar mixture of pride and wariness. Recognition was good, but too much attention could complicate her position within the team. She'd worked too hard to earn acceptance to jeopardize it now. "I appreciate that, Master Chief, but tomorrow's mission is what matters right now." "Agreed. Just wanted you to know that whatever happens out there, you've got my complete confidence." After Morrison left, Sarah returned to her mission preparation. She studied the compound's layout until she could navigate it blindfolded, memorized the locations of known guard posts, and calculated range cards for every possible shooting position. The phone buzzed again. This time it was her oldest brother, Mike, a Marine Corps infantry officer currently stationed in North Carolina. "Heard you guys might be getting some action soon. Stay sharp out there, little sister." Military families developed their own communication networks that somehow transmitted information faster than official channels. Mike's message confirmed what Sarah already suspected. Word of tomorrow's mission had reached higher command levels. "Always do," she typed back. "Give my love to Jenny and the kids." "Will do. Make sure you come home safe." "Lisa would never forgive me if I let something happen to her favorite sister." Sarah smiled at the old family joke. She was Lisa's only sister, making her both the favorite and least favorite by default. But the affection behind Mike's message was genuine, and she felt a moment of gratitude for the family that had shaped her into someone capable of tomorrow's mission. She finished her coffee and began her final equipment check. Every piece of gear was examined, tested, and packed according to a system developed through years of experience. Her rifle received particular attention, the weapon that might mean the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure. The scope's reticle was perfectly aligned, the barrel showed no signs of wear or fouling, and the trigger broke at exactly 3 pounds of pressure. Sarah had put thousands of rounds through this particular rifle during training exercises, and she trusted it completely. As midnight approached, she set her alarm and tried to get some sleep. Tomorrow would bring violence and danger, but also the opportunity to save innocent lives. For Sarah Chen, that made all the risks worthwhile. The last thing she saw before closing her eyes was the mission photograph showing 12 faces of people who were counting on her and her teammates to bring them home safely. Their names were memorized, their stories known, their lives hanging in the balance. Tomorrow, They would learn why the quiet woman with the rifle had earned the name the Falcon. The MH-60 Blackhawk helicopter cut through the pre-dawn darkness like a mechanical predator. Its rotors barely audible, thanks to noise-dampening modifications. Sarah Chen pressed against the aircraft's cold metal wall, feeling the familiar vibration that meant they were approaching the target area. Her rifle lay across her lap, secured but ready for immediate use. Through her night vision goggles, the Somali coastline appeared as a green-tinted landscape of rocky outcroppings and sparse vegetation. The compound sat exactly where the satellite imagery had promised, its walls and guard towers clearly visible in the infrared spectrum. 2 minutes out, the pilot announced through their headsets. Sarah checked her equipment one final time, running through the mental checklist that had become second nature. Rifle secure, ammunition pouches accessible, radio functioning, medical kit properly positioned. Every piece of gear had been placed with deliberate precision, allowing her to access what she needed without looking. "Falcon, you copy?" Master Chief Morrison's voice crackled through the radio. "Falcon copies," Sarah replied, the call sign feeling natural after 3 years of operations. "Ridgeline LZ looks clear from up here." The helicopter banked sharply toward her insertion point, while the assault team's aircraft continued toward the compound's opposite side. Sarah would be alone on that rocky outcropping for the next hour, providing overwatch while her teammates prepared their approach. 30 seconds, the crew chief announced. Sarah moved to the door as the Black Hawk flared above the ridge line. The landing zone was barely large enough for the aircraft, surrounded by jagged rocks that could shred a rotor blade if the pilot made even a small mistake. She gathered her gear and prepared to fast rope down. "Good hunting, Falcon," Rodriguez called out as she hooked onto the rope. The descent took less than 10 seconds, but Sarah used every moment to scan the surrounding terrain for threats. The ridge appeared empty, but 3 years of combat had taught her that appearances meant nothing. She hit the ground in a combat crouch, immediately moving away from the landing zone as the helicopter disappeared into the darkness. Silence settled over the mountainside like a heavy blanket. Sarah activated her radio's whisper mode and began moving toward her predetermined firing position. The rocky terrain made movement challenging, but she'd studied the approach route until she could navigate it in complete darkness. "Falcon in position," she reported 15 minutes later from a natural hide site that offered perfect views of the compound below. Through her rifle scope, she could see individual guards moving along the walls, their AK-47 assault rifles clearly visible in the infrared targeting system. "Copy, Falcon. We're beginning our approach now." Sarah settled into her shooting position with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd done this countless times. Her bipod found stable contact with the rock surface, while her body formed the triangle that would provide maximum stability for precision shots. The rifle felt like an extension of her nervous system, every control as familiar as breathing. The compound sprawled below her at a range of exactly 740 meters. She'd already calculated the ballistic solution for this distance, factoring in temperature, humidity, wind speed, and elevation. Her first shot would be perfect because there might not be time for a second one. Through the scope, she watched the guards following their established patrol patterns. 3 men on the perimeter walls, 2 more in the guard towers, and at least 4 additional fighters visible through windows in the main building. The hostages were reportedly being held on the 2nd floor, away from ground-level entrances. "Falcon, do you have eyes on the hostage room?" Morrison's voice was barely audible through the radio. Sarah adjusted her scope's focus and studied the building's upper level. "Negative on hostage visual. Windows are covered, but thermal imaging shows multiple heat signatures in the northeast corner room." "Copy that. We're moving to breach positions now." The assault team would be crawling through the rocks below, invisible to the pirates, but clearly visible to Sarah's elevated position. She tracked their movement through her rifle scope, ready to provide supporting fire if they were discovered. A guard on the eastern wall stopped directly below her position and lit a cigarette. The flame briefly illuminated his face, revealing a young man barely out of his teens, clutching an assault rifle with nervous hands. Sarah centered her crosshairs on his chest and waited. If the shooting started, he would be her first target. "Falcon, we're in position," Morrison reported. Beginning final approach in 60 seconds. Sarah's breathing slowed to match her heartbeat, each inhalation timed to maintain perfect stability. Her trigger finger rested lightly on the metal surface, ready to apply the precise pressure that would send a bullet downrange at over 2,000 feet per second. The young guard finished his cigarette and resumed his patrol, unaware that death had been aimed at him for the past 5 minutes. Sarah tracked his movement while simultaneously monitoring the other visible threats. When the assault began, she would have perhaps 10 seconds to eliminate multiple targets before the pirates could respond effectively. 30 seconds, Morrison whispered. Through her scope, Sarah watched Rodriguez appear at the compound's main gate carrying a shaped charge that would blow the entrance open. Bradley positioned himself to disable the communication antenna that might allow the pirates to call for reinforcements. Morrison and the other team members prepared to breach the main building where the hostages were held. 15 seconds. The guard in the northeast tower yawned and shifted his position, momentarily exposing himself to Sarah's line of fire. She noted the angle and distance, adding another target to her mental priority list. Execute, execute, execute. Rodriguez's explosive charge detonated with a thunderous roar that shattered the morning silence. The compound's main gate disappeared in a cloud of smoke and debris while Sarah's rifle spoke almost simultaneously. Her first shot caught the smoking guard center mass, dropping him instantly. She worked the bolt action smoothly, acquiring the tower guard who was just beginning to raise his weapon. Her second shot took him down before he could aim at the advancing assault team. A third pirate appeared at a ground-floor window, his muzzle flash visible as he opened fire on Morrison's position. Sarah's bullet punched through the window frame and eliminated the threat before he could adjust his aim. 3 down from Overwatch, she reported calmly, while scanning for additional targets. The compound erupted into chaos as the remaining pirates realized they were under attack. Automatic weapons fire echoed off the rocky walls while Morrison's team advanced through the smoke toward the main building. Sarah continued her methodical elimination of threats, her rifle barrel shifting smoothly between targets. A pirate with a rocket-propelled grenade launcher appeared on the building's roof, clearly intending to destroy the helicopter that would extract the hostages. Sarah's fourth shot sent him tumbling over the edge before he could fire. "RPG threat eliminated," she announced. "Good shooting, Falcon. We're inside the building now." Through her scope, Sarah could see muzzle flashes from inside the structure as her teammates fought their way toward the hostage room. More pirates emerged from concealed positions, forcing her to maintain constant vigilance for new threats. A technical vehicle, a pickup truck mounted with a heavy machine gun, roared around the building's corner and began raking the main entrance with sustained fire. The weapon's caliber would punch through the team's body armor like paper, making it an immediate priority target. Sarah shifted her aim to the gunner and fired, but the man ducked behind his weapon's shield just as her bullet passed through the space where his head had been. The machine gun continued its deadly chatter, pinning down her teammates inside the building. She worked the bolt again and aimed at the truck's engine block. Her shot punched through the radiator, sending steam billowing from under the hood, but the vehicle remained operational. The gunner popped up again, swinging his weapon toward her position on the ridgeline. Sarah rolled sideways, just as heavy-caliber rounds shattered the rocks where she'd been lying. The machine gun's bullets chewed apart her former position while she scrambled to find new cover. Her rifle scope had been damaged by rock fragments, forcing her to rely on backup iron sights. "Falcon, you okay up there?" Rodriguez's voice carried genuine concern. "Falcon's moving positions," she replied, while low-crawling toward an alternate firing site 50 meters to her left. "Stay away from the main entrance, Technical vehicle with heavy weapon. The new position offered a different angle on the compound, but required her to compensate for an unfamiliar shooting solution. Sarah quickly estimated the range and wind conditions while the machine gunner continued searching for her original location. She settled behind a boulder and aimed at the Technical's driver through the truck's windshield. The iron sights weren't as precise as her scope, but at this range they would be sufficient. Her shot spiderwebbed the glass and sent the vehicle careening into the compound wall. The machine gun fell silent. "Technical neutralized," Sarah reported while scanning for her next target. "Copy, Falcon. We've located the hostages, but there's a problem." Morrison's words sent ice through Sarah's veins. "What kind of problem?" "They're rigged with explosives. Some kind of dead man's switch. If we take out the wrong pirate, these people die." Sarah processed this information while continuing her overwatch duties. A dead man's switch meant one of the pirates held a trigger that would detonate the explosives if he was killed or incapacitated. Finding and eliminating him without alerting him would require perfect timing and coordination. "Do we have visual on the switch holder?" she asked. "Negative. Could be any of the remaining tangos inside." Through her rifle's iron sights, Sarah could see into several rooms of the building where the firefight continued. Morrison's team was advancing methodically, but every doorway could conceal the person holding the hostages' lives in his hands. "Falcon, can you get eyes on the hostage room from your position?" Sarah studied the building's upper level, looking for any vantage point that might allow her to see inside. The windows were covered with heavy curtains, but thermal imaging revealed multiple heat signatures clustered in what appeared to be the northeast corner room. "Negative on direct visual, but I'm seeing thermal blooms consistent with 12 to 15 people in the target room." "Copy that. We're moving up the stairs now." The sound of gunfire intensified as Morrison's team encountered resistance on the building's upper level. Sarah watched muzzle flashes bloom in the windows while her teammates fought their way toward the hostages. Every second of delay increased the chance that the pirates would execute their captives. A figure appeared at a third-floor window, raising what appeared to be a radio antenna. If the pirates managed to call for reinforcements, the mission could turn into a prolonged siege with the hostages caught in the middle. Sarah aimed carefully with her damaged sights and fired. The radio operator pitched backward into the room, his equipment clattering to the floor. One less complication for her teammates to worry about. "Radio threat eliminated," she reported. "Outstanding. We're almost to the hostage room." Through the chaos of combat, Sarah heard a new sound that made her blood run cold, the distinctive whine of incoming helicopters. But these aircraft weren't friendly. The sound signature belonged to old Soviet-era gunships, probably operated by the same criminal network that employed the pirates. "Falcon to all call signs. We've got incoming air support, not ours," she announced while tracking the approaching aircraft through her rifle sights. "Two helicopters, probably armed." The first gunship appeared over the compound's eastern wall, its weapon pods clearly visible in the morning light. These aircraft carried enough firepower to level the entire building, hostages included. Sarah's rifle was completely inadequate against armored aircraft, but she had to try something. She aimed at the pilot's window and fired, knowing the bullet would bounce harmlessly off the reinforced glass. The gesture was futile but necessary. She wouldn't let her teammates face this threat without at least attempting to help. "All units, we need immediate extraction." Morrison's voice carried new urgency. "Falcon, can you provide any support against those birds?" Sarah studied the approaching helicopters while her mind raced through tactical options. Her rifle couldn't penetrate their armor, but there might be another way to level the playing field. The compound's fuel storage tank sat near the landing pad where the gunships would likely set down. "Possible solution," she replied while adjusting her aim toward the fuel depot. "Going to try something unconventional." Her shot punched into the nearest fuel tank, releasing a stream of diesel that pooled on the concrete pad. A second shot ignited the spilled fuel with a spark off the metal surface. creating a wall of flames that made helicopter landing impossible. "Nice work, Falcon," Rodriguez's voice carried admiration. "That'll keep them honest." The burning fuel created thick black smoke that reduced visibility throughout the compound while forcing the gunships to maintain higher altitudes. Sarah had bought her teammates precious time, but the aircraft could still rain destruction on the building from above. "We've got the hostages," Morrison announced. "All 12 accounted for and in good condition. Moving to extraction point now." Sarah felt a surge of relief mixed with professional satisfaction. The mission's primary objective had been accomplished despite the complications. Now they just had to get everyone home alive. "Falcon, we need covering fire for the extraction route," Morrison continued. "Pirates are regrouping near the landing zone." Through her iron sights, Sarah could see armed figures moving through the smoke toward the compound's helicopter pad where their extraction aircraft would arrive. She began engaging targets methodically, each shot carefully placed to maximum effect. Her ammunition was running low after the sustained firefight, but she made every bullet count. Pirates dropped behind cover as her precise fire swept the landing zone clear of immediate threats. "Landing zone secure from this position," she reported while reloading her rifle. "But those gunships are still circling." The sound of approaching American helicopters reached her ears just as the enemy aircraft prepared to attack. The timing would be critical. If their extraction bird arrived at the wrong moment, it could be shot down before the hostages could be loaded aboard. Sarah keyed her radio with growing urgency. "Extraction bird, be advised you have enemy air assets in the area. Recommend combat approach with suppression support." The response came immediately. "Copy, Falcon. We've got a pair of Cobras providing top cover. Should be interesting." Through the smoke and flames below, Sarah watched her teammates emerge from the main building with 12 rescued hostages. The mission's most dangerous phase was just beginning. The American extraction helicopter thundered over the ridgeline with 2 AH-1 Cobra gunships flanking it like deadly escorts. Sarah watched through her rifle's iron sights as the formation descended toward the burning compound where Morrison's team waited with 12 rescued hostages. Enemy gunships immediately moved to intercept, their pilots clearly intending to destroy the rescue aircraft before the hostages could escape. The air above the compound erupted into a deadly ballet as missiles streaked between the opposing helicopters. Sarah maintained her overwatch position despite the chaos unfolding around her. Several pirates had regrouped near the landing zone, using the smoke and confusion to position themselves for ambush attacks on the extraction team. Through her damaged sights, she tracked their movements while calculating firing solutions. "Falcon, we're taking fire from multiple positions," Morrison reported as his team moved the hostages toward the helicopter pad. "Can you suppress the shooters near the fuel depot?" "Copy that," Sarah replied while adjusting her aim. Her first shot dropped a pirate who had been setting up a rocket-propelled grenade launcher behind a concrete barrier. The weapon clattered across the ground as its operator collapsed. Her second shot eliminated a sniper who had been targeting the approaching extraction helicopter from a rooftop position. Above the compound, one of the enemy gunships broke off its attack run, trailing smoke from its tail section. A Cobra had scored a hit with its 20mm cannon, sending the damaged aircraft limping toward the coastline. The remaining enemy helicopter proved more elusive, using the compound's buildings as cover while hunting for clear shots at the rescue bird. Sarah's radio crackled with urgent communications as the extraction helicopter settled onto the landing pad amid a storm of gunfire. "Falcon, we need immediate suppression of the eastern wall. Multiple shooters engaging the extraction bird." She shifted her rifle toward the compound's eastern wall where several pirates had taken position behind the concrete barriers. Her ammunition was critically low after the sustained firefight, but she made each remaining round count. Her shots forced the pirates to keep their heads down, while Morrison's team loaded the first group of hostages onto the helicopter. The rescued aid workers and local staff moved quickly despite their obvious exhaustion and fear. Sarah could see their faces clearly through her scope. People who had been given up for dead were now moments away from freedom. "First load away," Morrison announced as the extraction helicopter lifted off with half the hostages aboard. "Second bird inbound for pickup." The remaining enemy gunship immediately pounced on the departing aircraft, its pilot firing a burst from his nose-mounted cannon. Tracers streaked past the American helicopter as it jinked desperately to avoid the incoming fire. Sarah watched helplessly from her ridgeline position as the enemy aircraft pressed its attack. Her rifle was useless against armored helicopters, but she refused to remain passive while her teammates and the hostages faced destruction. An idea struck her as she studied the enemy helicopter's flight pattern. The pilot was focused entirely on his target, following a predictable approach route that would bring him within range of an unconventional solution. Sarah aimed not at the aircraft itself, but at the fuel storage tank directly beneath its flight path. Her bullet punched into the tank's pressure relief valve, causing it to vent aviation fuel in a high-pressure stream. The timing had to be perfect for her plan to work. The enemy gunship swept low over the fuel depot just as Sarah fired her second-to-last round into the concrete pad below the venting fuel. The spark ignited a towering column of flame that engulfed the helicopter's engine intakes, causing immediate mechanical failure. The enemy aircraft auto-rotated down in a controlled crash landing, its crew abandoning their attack to deal with emergency procedures. Sarah had effectively eliminated an attack helicopter using nothing but precise marksmanship and tactical thinking. "Holy shit, Falcon!" Rodriguez's voice carried amazement through the radio. "Did you just shoot down a helicopter?" "Negative," Sarah replied while tracking new targets through her scope. "I just gave it something else to think about." The second extraction helicopter arrived as the enemy aircraft struggled with its emergency landing. Morrison's team quickly loaded the remaining hostages, while Sarah provided covering fire with her last few rounds of ammunition. A pirate with an anti-aircraft missile launcher emerged from a concealed position near the communications building. The weapon's infrared seeker would lock onto the helicopter's engine heat signature, making evasion nearly impossible at close range. Sarah had one bullet left in her rifle and no time to reload. The shot would be difficult even under ideal conditions. The target was partially concealed behind a concrete wall at maximum effective range for iron sights. Miss, and 12 innocent people would die along with her teammates. She controlled her breathing and settled into the perfect shooting position, the crosshairs aligned with the small portion of the target visible above his cover. Sarah applied steady pressure to the trigger, feeling the precise moment when the firing pin struck the primer. The bullet flew true across 740 meters of morning air. It struck the missile launcher's battery pack, causing an electrical malfunction that sent the weapon's guidance system into failure mode. The pirate pulled the trigger, but instead of launching toward the helicopter, the missile detonated in place. The explosion eliminated the last serious threat to the extraction, while demonstrating why Sarah Chen had earned her reputation among the special operations community. It wasn't just her marksmanship that made her exceptional. It was her ability to find solutions that nobody else would consider. "Target neutralized," she reported calmly, while beginning her own movement toward the extraction point. "Falcon moving to secondary pickup." The compound below had become a blazing ruin as fuel fires spread throughout the facility. Pirates who hadn't been eliminated during the firefight were either dead or fleeing toward the coastline. The rescue mission had been accomplished with all hostages recovered safely. Sarah moved carefully down the rocky slope toward her designated pickup point, constantly scanning for remaining threats. Her rifle was empty, but still served as a psychological deterrent to any pirates who might be watching her movement. The extraction helicopter appeared over the ridge line exactly on schedule, its crew chief already preparing to winch her up to safety. Sarah attached the rescue harness with practiced efficiency while maintaining her defensive posture. As the helicopter lifted off, she caught a final glimpse of the burning compound below. 12 innocent people were alive because her team had executed a nearly impossible mission under adverse conditions. The precision required for success had been measured in fractions of inches and split seconds. Outstanding work today. Falcon? Morrison's voice came through her headset as they flew toward the waiting naval vessel. That last shot was something special. Sarah stripped the magazine from her rifle and began cleaning the weapon with methodical care. Just doing my job, Master Chief. No, that was way beyond standard operating procedure. You eliminated multiple threats, neutralized an enemy helicopter, and saved the mission with that final shot. The hostages are alive because of your performance today. Through the helicopter's window, Sarah could see the USS Boxer growing larger on the horizon. The amphibious assault ship would provide medical care for the rescued hostages and a secure platform for mission debriefing. Rodriguez appeared beside her in the cramped aircraft. Serious question, Chen. How did you know that fuel tank trick would work? Sarah continued cleaning her rifle while considering the answer. Physics. Aviation fuel burns hot and fast when properly atomized. The helicopter's engine intakes created perfect conditions for flame propagation into the combustion chambers. Yeah, but how did you calculate the timing? That bird was moving at probably 60 knots. I didn't calculate anything. I just knew when to shoot. The answer frustrated Rodriguez because it couldn't be taught or replicated. Sarah's success came from an intuitive understanding of ballistics, physics, and tactical applications that couldn't be reduced to formulas or procedures. Lieutenant Bradley leaned over from his position near the aircraft's communication station. Falcon, you might want to know that Mission Control has been monitoring our radio traffic. Word is already spreading about today's performance. Sarah felt a familiar mixture of pride and concern. Recognition was good for her career, but too much attention could complicate her position within the tight-knit special operations community. The helicopter settled onto the Boxer's flight deck with the precision that characterized all military operations. Medical personnel immediately took custody of the rescued hostages, while the assault team moved toward their debriefing locations. Sarah secured her equipment and prepared to face the inevitable questions about her performance during the mission. The shooting would be analyzed frame by frame, her decisions examined by senior officers who had never faced similar tactical challenges. But she also knew that 12 people were alive who would have died without her intervention. That knowledge made all the scrutiny worthwhile. Chen, hold up a minute, Morrison called as she headed toward the armory. She turned to face the Master Chief, noting the expression of genuine respect on his weathered features. I want you to know that in 23 years of special operations, I've never seen shooting like what you demonstrated today. That last shot alone was worth a Bronze Star, but eliminating that helicopter was something out of a movie. Thank you, Master Chief. The team performance was exceptional across the board. Yes, it was. But your individual contribution made the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure. Morrison paused, choosing his words carefully. There's something I need to tell you about that nickname. Sarah waited, sensing that Morrison was about to reveal something significant. When you first arrived here 3 years ago, some of the junior enlisted started calling you the Falcon because they thought you looked small and fragile. They figured you'd wash out during your first deployment. I'm aware of the nickname's origins, Master Chief. What you don't know is why we kept using it after watching you work. Falcons aren't just small birds. They're the most lethal aerial predators on the planet. They hunt by diving from extreme altitude and striking their prey with incredible precision. A peregrine falcon can reach speeds over 200 miles per hour during hunting dives. Morrison smiled as understanding dawned in Sarah's eyes. They also have the best eyesight in the animal kingdom and can spot targets from distances that would be impossible for other creatures. When you're positioned on Overwatch, watching everything that happens below while delivering precision strikes at extreme range, the comparison becomes obvious. Sarah absorbed this information while processing its implications. The nickname that had started as mockery had evolved into something that accurately described her tactical role and capabilities. Plus, Morrison continued, Falcons mate for life and are fiercely protective of their territory. They'll attack much larger predators if their nest is threatened. Sound familiar? The insight struck home as Sarah realized how accurately the comparison reflected her approach to teamwork and mission execution. She would engage any threat to protect her teammates, regardless of the odds or personal risk. I never looked at it that way, Master Chief. The men figured it out after that first deployment to Afghanistan. When you eliminated those 3 targets at over 1,000 meters to save Rodriguez's squad, everyone understood what kind of predator they were dealing with. Sarah felt a warmth spreading through her chest as the true meaning of her call sign became clear. It wasn't about her size or gender. It was about her lethal efficiency and unwavering dedication to protecting others. Today's mission just confirmed what we already knew, Morrison concluded. When you're providing overwatch, nothing gets past you. When threats appear, you eliminate them with surgical precision. And when your team is in danger, you'll find solutions that nobody else would consider. As Sarah walked toward the ship's interior, she reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. 3 years of proving herself, countless hours of training, and missions that tested every aspect of her character and skills. The rescued hostages would return to their families because 12 highly trained warriors had executed a complex mission with professional precision. But Sarah knew that each team member's contribution had been equally vital to the outcome. Her role as the Falcon wasn't about individual glory. It was about being the eyes and guardian angel that kept everyone safe while they accomplished the impossible. The nickname had finally found its true meaning, and Sarah Chen had earned her place among the most elite warriors in the world.